Okay, welcome to the Kubeflow Pipelines community meeting today. Today's date is April 8th, 2026. This meeting is governed by the CNCF Code of Conduct. This meeting is being recorded and will be uploaded to the Kubeflow YouTube account after the call has ended. Um, and I'll share my screen and we can go ahead with the topics that we have for today. Um, Anybody new on the call that would like to introduce themselves, please go ahead. Else, we could continue.
I'll jump in then.
All
Uh,
right, go for
yeah,
a minute.
at least from my point of view, it feels like there's a lot of drive-by PRs on KFP where I'm getting a lot of emails of like new PRs that are being opened from people I don't recognize. And like we definitely want to encourage people to be part of the Kubeflow community and contribute. I think maybe a little bit more proactiveness around like having requiring GitHub issues being created and approved by maintainers prior to PR being created would help with some of that. So that way we can agree on what, if it's actually something we want to fix, what requirements there should be, and have that nicely groomed in the issue prior to implementation. So I want to get people's thoughts on this. The MLflow community that I also contribute to, they have this workflow where they set a label of ready on the GitHub issue, and then someone can ask to be assigned to the issue, and then and then as long as it's fine, they get assigned to the issue and they can create the PR. So I want to get people's thoughts on that workflow.
Oh, hold on, just so I understand the flow. So somebody makes an issue, then maintainer has to assign it.
Has to mark it as ready, like groom it, and
Oh,
then
okay.
someone has to ask. Someone can then ask, like, "Oh, can I take this on?"
I see. Um, I like that. The only thing is that contributors can self-assign today.
And oh, they can
Yeah.
contributors, as in like
If you're
if
part of the
you're.
Kubeflow org, then I think you
Hmm.
can do /assign. Maybe we can turn that off, but it's like I think it's a proud thing. Uh,
Yeah, I guess that's less worrisome as long as like they can't label the issue.
Yeah,
Um,
so there's that ready. So like they can assign
yeah,
themselves, but like we wouldn't probably. But that's what I was wondering is like, is it maintainer sets it to ready? Then like, how do you decide who does it? Uh,
yeah. Someone comments in the issue asking, "Can I take this on?"
mhm.
And then they assign themselves, I guess, if they're able to, or we assign them. And then we would have like PRCI that would like fail if it's not linked to like a GitHub issue with the label, and then we can auto close those PRs eventually.
Nilesh?
No, I like this, especially the same reason that you pointed out. Uh, there's just too many PRs these days, and it's very hard to keep track of everything. Um, so this will definitely give sanity. The only question I have about this is it's going to create burden on maintainers, and it might become like a blocker for any bug fix, right? Um, I guess anyone can still file a bug. It's just that they cannot create a PR unless it's marked as ready by a maintainer. What would be the process for someone to actually ping maintainers to groom a ticket? And
Yeah, maybe maintainers is too strong of a word, but like someone that is an approver in the GitHub repo presumably would be fine.
Yeah.
but how will they know who to reach out to groom?
Yeah, that's the thing that as maintainers and community members, we have to do a better job of keeping track of the new issues in the backlog and proactively groom.
I think that approvers can also be part of the grooming, though, at
Yeah,
least the areas for which they're approvers of, and for maybe like the more simpler stuff and things that are outside their scope.
yeah, I think we should be able to grant GitHub repo permissions to allow you to like I think manage like issues and stuff like that without like having merge access directly. I forget what the permission's called, but
Yeah, what's the current process for grooming issues? And is that all done by maintainers? Because that's something that maybe could be expanded to a broader.
I think that's a really good idea. I think, and I think that issues and PRs are scoped differently, right? Uh, than write access to the repo.
yeah, the way MLflow does it in their community is they rotate of like having an on-call person, quote unquote, where they look at the issues that new issues that come in and they're the first ones to groom and also new PRs that come in. So it's a tall task to ask. So I don't know if we could do that in our community, but that is an approach that works.
How long are the on-call periods? Is that like 1 week, 2 weeks?
I think it's 1 week in MLflow community.
Since we meet every 2 weeks, it could make more sense to do it every 2 weeks.
There's a triage permission, which says you can read and clone this repository, but you can also manage issues and pull requests. So we could like hand those out to approvers,
Yeah.
and to help like kind of lower the burden on the maintainers, but also like keep the momentum going and keep grooming things. And you can do this on-call method, but the on-call pool can include approvers.
Or we allow PRs without the GitHub issue if you're an approver in the repo already.
Mm-hmm.
That might be best. So you have to be an approver in the repo, or it has to target a GitHub issue you're assigned to that's labeled ready.
Yeah, like you guys mentioned, it might be a tough a toll on the on call person. Maybe it could be the on-call person, um rather than grooming every ticket by themselves, they can actually find out who should they reach out to, because they know who other like the approvers within the community that knows that area best, right? They can reach out to them and then ask them to groom as well.
Yeah. I think we could probably have AI also do initial triages.
Yeah, we can have Copilot do that, yeah.
Yeah.
And ping the concerned party as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So do on-call, but on-call can reach out to, if they're not able to groom it, they can reach out to. I just don't understand why we would add on-call people if they can't groom the ticket. Do we feel like the approvers are not equipped? Two questions. One, do we feel like we don't have enough approvers for this to be like move at a reasonable pace? And two, would they not be equipped to groom tickets?
No, I think they would be. Yeah.
Yeah,
So maybe on call would be any approver in the
yeah.
repo.
Yeah,
I mean, they
my
obviously like
only
have.
my only concern is getting overburdened. There can be like hundreds of tickets to groom in 1 week, versus other week there's nothing, right? So uh, just want to help out the person who's on call, and they shouldn't feel overburdened. And like Matt mentioned, we can have Copilot do that for us rather than having a human do it, right? Um, We can have that. Yeah. My other concern about this is how will we know the priority based on the thumbs up on the ticket or eh, the comments on the ticket that the issue creator leaves on the issue?
I think it depends. If it's like a security vulnerability, then you can't rely on likes, for example. If it's feature, then you could look at likes. You can also use your like better judgment, I guess. If it's like a really important tech debt, again, I wouldn't look at likes per se. Um,
Yeah, we can have Copilot set specific labels, I think. See, there's an AI powered issue intake tool.
yeah, we could provide like a rubric as well, or to like a guided like uh I don't know.
One question I have is we also have approvers in like different directories and whatnot. And so, for example, if someone's a backend approver, would they only be looking at backend issues, or is this just approvers across? Like, would this just be root approvers?
I think it's fine personally if they look across as long as like we should trust our approvers to know that if they're not equipped to groom a ticket, they reach out to the relevant parties via LLM or to like others and try not to groom something that they don't understand themselves.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. If you're an approver of a large enough area like backend or front end or SDK, I think it's fine. Like you understand the project well enough to groom the issue, and you can always ask an AI to like confirm your thoughts.
Action items. How do you want to keep track of on calls?
Do we want to do the on-call approach?
I'm for it.
No, I think
Yeah.
we said we'll try uh, Copilot, right, first and see how that works.
So what is Copilot doing? Is it assessing each issue and deciding on whether it's ready state?
No, I think the ready state should be manual process. It's like approving, right? It's like an approval process, but it can do the assessment and ping or like leave a comment and then ping approvers f within that area and maintainers to uh, approve the labels, I guess.
I see. Okay, so you kind of like work like inversely then. So Copilot reviews, assesses, and pings based off the approvers in that. Okay. Uh, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that makes sense. Like Copilot grooms it and then notifies the everyone that it's ready for like a human to review.
Are people paying enough attention to their inboxes to keep up with this? Or
We can have Slack notification. We can
yeah,
create a channel where this gets pinged. I think it's easier to look at Slack than emails.
can we do this with Copilot?
I linked something in the chat, which is like the official GitHub AI issue assessment commenter. I don't know. I don't know if this would be enough, but it seems like it could. The first thing we'd have to do, I think, is improve our like GitHub issue template.
Okay, start writing this down. So where is, all right. action items. Okay, have a workflow where Copilot reviews GitHub issues and runs assessment on it. You can link the thing. Okay. Copilot will ping the approvers in the relevant areas, indicating whether this issue is good to be set with the ready label. Is that it?
I think so. And if ideally Copilot can label the issues that are ready for a human to review.
Yeah, that's this.
No, but
Oh,
like
you want Copilot to do it. Okay.
yeah, no, like label something that's like this is ready for a human
Oh,
to
I see.
set the ready label.
Copilot can add a ready for human review or similar label
Yep.
to indicate this. Yeah, this is I like this more because then you can make a table out of it or like filter it or whatever.
Yep.
Okay, cool. Does that address?
Do we need to add any rubric conditional like a matrix for Copilot instructions?
Metrics?
Yeah.
Like what do you mean? Could you give an example?
An example would be, oh, if it's this area and the likes are this much, right? Then it's an urgent
Oh,
thing. So like
you
conditional,
mean like heuristics, like to guide it along?
yeah.
Okay. Uh, yeah, I imagine that would be something we do as part of this, but like we can note it here. Uh, uh, pilot or assessment. Wait, so is this to assess priorities or what is this for?
It could be for anything. I mean, one use case is to assess priorities, right?
Okay, so Copilot or assessment tool should be given a set of heuristics to guide its uh, decision making. So, for example, for features, use the number of likes to assess priority. I don't know really how it feels that much about this, but does that capture it? If not, maybe you could like reword it to capture what it is you would like to see.
Yeah. I think this is good. And once we start to use it, we'll find more use cases,
Hmm.
I guess.
Hmm. Okay. All right. And now the best part. Who wants to take this on? So I don't have to say it now, but we'll need a volunteer and it probably needs to be somewhat maintainer driven. Can bring this up in the next sync as well for maintainers.
I'd be interested in working on it in some kind of support capacity alongside a maintainer.
Yeah. Okay. I can work on it with you if you want to lead it, and I can
Sounds good.
advise and apply my repo admin permissions when needed.
Alrighty, we will have some progress then for the next week's or meeting in 2 weeks.
Does that
Okay.
address the primary concern or can we move
Oh,
to the
I think we forgot the PRCI for
Mhm.
like if the PR doesn't mention a GitHub issue that has the ready label.
If newly made PRs uh, don't reference an issue with the ready label. They should be auto closed with a message indicating warning. And
Do we want to auto close it
and
or just give them a week grace period to get the
nah,
nah,
just
auto
auto. You
close it.
can
Yeah.
easily reopen it. It's just the
Yeah.
here, yeah, keep it
That's
clean.
We should probably update the contributing doc to just reflect this stuff too for any new people that might come to the repo.
Update contributing doc to represent this new workflow.
And new PRs by non-approvers and maintainers, right?
Uh,
yeah. Oh yeah,
this
yeah.
should only impact new PRs by non-approvers. Let's say reviewers as well, reviewers and maintainers. Uh, yeah, sounds good. Good.
Yep. Did you have more, Nilesh? You still have your hand up. Oh, okay. Well, I feel bad assigning a bunch more work after Alyssa volunteered. Are you still
It's
okay with
so
this code?
funny.
All good.
So
Okay.
within like your internal team, you can also like create issues as part of your sprints and have others assigned to help you. You're just
Oh
leading,
yeah.
just note that you're leading the effort, like not necessarily
Yeah.
responsible for everything. Yeah.
No, totally. I'll get it organized.
Andre, you
Uh,
have the next one.
Is Andre here or muted? I
he's here.
don't. Oh yeah. Can't hear you if you're talking, Andre. All right, we'll move him next. And Matt, you can go with yours.
Uh, yeah,
Oh,
you should. Can you hear me, guys?
yeah, we can hear you.
All right. Yeah, sorry about it. Yeah, do we have any topics, other topics to talk about, or we can quickly talk about this discussion?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, we just have a quick thing with Michael, 1 hour ago. This I know he has done some updates for to integrate pipelines client to the Kubeflow SDK. So I think I have a few small questions and more kind of maybe bigger questions. So with a small one, so he told us you think we should kind of create another proposal to support this pipelines client upstream in KFP repo, basically in Kubeflow/pipelines repo, where we can we can maintain these pipelines clients there, so you can have a stable releases and you can have a CI to verify that all of the APIs are functional.
Yep.
So I think this is fine as a first step. My only question is that can we keep so my suggestion was, I know Kubernetes has this concept of KEP approvals. So basically, in addition to README, you always have the kep.yaml file where you define approvers and reviewers. So my suggestion, maybe question to you guys, maybe we can list pipelines as the approvers for this KEP and just, instead of duplicating the documentation, we can keep everything in a single place. How does it sound to you? Um, and then, we can have this you as approve like one of the approvers to move this forward.
Um, I think the actual ask is not clear to me. Are you saying that you need one of the maintainers to review this and approve it if we feel it's ready, or to lead
Yeah.
the effort?
Yeah, my only question, because I guess you kind of suggested that we keep pipelines clients within Kubeflow Kubeflow/pipelines repo, right? In the upstream repo, which means like I think you suggested Michael to create another cap for this client So I just try to avoid having another documentation for this, right? And trying to find a way for us.
So you're saying just this counts as the KEP for pipelines as well, right? Like not having two KEPs.
Yeah, exactly. Having one
Oh,
KEP and
right.
Oh,
having
yeah, that's fun.
having the kep.yaml file, the one that I shared, like one of the examples we do, like we use in Kubernetes to at least maybe put the approvers there. We should actually use this file everywhere if you want to follow the Kubernetes model, like how they maintain caps. It's very, companies. You can have a milestone here. You can have the reviewers, approvers. It's very, like useful to have.
Yeah, let's do that.
Nilesh, you have a hands up?
Yeah, I just want to understand the motivation behind this. That is it just a wrapper that will call the KFP SDK client, or is it going to re-implement the KFP Python client?
Yeah, so like in this cap, we have several phases, like phase one, two, three. So like the goal is to provide a kind of consistent experience and provide this, KFP client has a lot of API that probably users don't really need, but the problem is like you cannot really delete them because they will break all the users' deployment. So which means like with this way, like with the phases, we want to kind of provide an API which actually users will use and will require, which basically requiring for us to create another client called Pipelines client, similar to how we have a trainer client, Spark client, optimizer client, and then under this client, we will define a set of API that I'm going to talk after the first question, which actually will wrap the KFP client APIs and also maybe some like combine multiple of them together, right? Does make sense? All right.
And then the last bit, like who's owning the implementation of it? Are you asking the pipelines work group to do it, or would it be like the KEP author, Michael?
Yeah, we can be flexible here. Like, I think if you want to keep the pipelines client for now under KFP SDK, sorry, the KFP SDK, we can whether have a sub owners files and then the Michael there, maybe a
Yep.
few folk from SDK team, right? Um,
Yeah, that would be my preference.
yeah.
Same.
And I think we're gonna have another sub package, right? Like the subfolder on the SDK.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, because the owners file is scoped to the directory, right? To the entire directory.
Yep. Okay.
And I have another question. Like, yeah, do you have anything else on here?
I I do want to review it, but like, why is it 1,500 lines?
Yeah, it's very long.
Yeah.
Can I
We
see
should,
the import? I'm just curious about the
yeah,
import.
we should have a summarize skill, and we should ask Michael to use a summarize cloud skill or like, whatever agent he uses,
Okay.
right?
I think
Yes,
that's like all I needed to see.
Yeah.
those two
Um,
verbose.
I think because it has multiple phases, but yeah, we can. I think the goal is to again to extend API the pipelines client further, right? Because we're gonna support more experiences later. But the first initial goal, maybe if we scroll to the 1 second, so it's called phase one. Um, yeah, if you scroll to the phase one core workflow,
So
yeah, then you can
just
yeah you
remind
can
me, I know we went a lot of back and forth on this like months back.
yeah.
Is this did we settle on pinning a version uh as like extras or how
Well,
did
so the yeah, one of the distinctions here to remind you, Khmer, is that the wrapper it could be potentially wrapper code of the existing clients, or it could just be fresh client functions, but they would be contributed to upstream KFP with
Mm,
the standard Kubeflow SDK interface, and then Kubeflow SDK just it re-exports them directly.
I see.
No wrapping in Kubeflow SDK. And I don't know if you wanted to pin Andre from the Kubeflow SDK or like a version range, like not too opinionated.
Yeah, whether we should use some model, right, or just wrap it. The question is, right?
Yeah, I think just yeah, re-export it. Essentially, I have one init.py file that imports KFP SDK, a bunch of things, and yeah, that's it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But they
And we
still
can,
need like they need to add KFP as a dependency, right?
Right,
So
right.
you're asking, is this a range or is this a pinned version? Or Andre, you mentioned
Mhm.
submodule. That was
No,
my
but we
question.
don't.
I was like, did we
Yeah, we don't
decide?
need. Yeah, but we don't need to have submodule if I just use the export this via init file, right?
Hmm.
So I think we export all the clients like via this init file right now. So it's basically it's what is it? Yeah, we do this here actually. Let me share it. So it's Flow Spark, for example. So right now every project has a subfolder, with a Spark trainer optimizer, and then we export like the required set of types users can use. So we can have a like a sub package called subfolder called Kubeflow pipelines, right? And in init file we can just export everything we need here. And the pipelines client again, it can be from KFP dot pipelines client or KFP. We can think about it, right? Like where we store them. Does make sense?
Right.
Um, yeah, I think importing Park we can definitely figure out.
I think let's start with a version range,
Okay. I was
like
just saying the
greater
K.
than. Yeah, go ahead.
I was just saying the proposal should address like how KFP is being pulled in, probably, and like whether the range is fine. That works.
Yeah, it's actually good column. Yeah, I think that it's like he has some extras here, but I don't. So dependencies, I think, yeah, it's okay. He has like dependencies section. If you open this, do you want me to share my screen? I can show this.
I'm sharing right
You
now.
are sharing already.
I think I can see Michael's screen, right?
Uh,
There
Oh,
you
that
go.
was Michael.
Yeah, that was me.
Okay. Oh, okay.
I was controlling it all.
yeah, that was Andre.
Yeah,
Go
you
for it, Andre.
impersonated Andre.
Yeah, he just predicted what I want to show, right? Um, yeah, so um, yeah, so here I think it says dependencies. So extras.
Yeah, okay. And then that can be arranged.
It can be a range, yes. I think because right now we use a range for
Hmm.
trainer or Spark. We can pin it if you think it is safer. Yeah, we can
I
talk
think a
about it.
range is better because, like, if there's any
Mhm.
companies that are rebuilding these packages, it's kind of a burden to always have the exact versions.
Mhm. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I think another discussion I want to have like more kind of maybe questionable to users of Qflow pipelines. So I think we've been discussing what we should do in a phase one. And I think phase one, we want again, as I said, introduce the minimal set of API to provide a very kind of simple experience for users to try this tool. So I think he has some of the examples, for example, with Spark, right? Like let's say like we have a single package called Kubeflow, right? Single Python package. And users can define their Spark data processing function. They can define their training function, and then they can run maybe they can also register the model via model registry client, and then they can run the full pipeline using the pipeline DSL, right? And define a single run function. So I think he also has one of the examples with, Spark plus training, for example, right? So again, similar to this experience, we define a function for Spark, we define a function for train job, and then we run the pipeline. So the question is, I think in the phase one, we want to um, have a few methods, and we've been debating whether we want to have upload and run method. Um, so like maybe high level question. I know pipelines has a three concept of experiment, pipelines, runs. So let's not talk about experiments. Let's talk about pipelines and runs. Uh, do you see that users actually find this useful in a way that, they upload the pipeline and then trigger the run, or they just don't care about pipelines as a template, they just want to trigger the runs uh, when they want to run the pipeline?
It's usually they just trigger the run one off with the pipeline definition when they're testing, I think. But then when it's actually production, you upload the pipeline, and that's what you trigger off of. So that way, everyone is using the same pipeline definition in the company or team.
Hmm. Yeah, I was thinking about the same way. So basically, upload is mostly like, if you want to share, right? And if you want to have a production pipeline, everyone can trigger, right? And
Yep.
reference, right? Okay.
What is it? Maybe I missed it. It says replaces. Is this like adding these like abstractions or whatever to the KF SDK? Why not
No,
just
no,
add it to the,
under this separate client, right?
uh,
So the client has a set of methods we can expose to users. I
uh,
know, Pipeline's client today expose a bunch of APIs, and we don't know like how many of them actually are useful.
mhm.
And we try to see like what in the in the multiple phases, like how we can provide a minimal API so users can see the value, right? And then extend it moving forward. And I want to, yeah, talk to you guys and understand it basically from a user perspective, what actually they use day to day.
Yeah, Hamir, think of it as like a partial rewrite of the KFP SDK to match the Kubeflow interfaces, like Kubeflow SDK interfaces, but we're not removing the existing KFP clients.
Yep. Yeah,
They're
that's
there
right.
for backwards compatibility, but here's a new client with a consistent interface.
Yeah, that part I get. I was just wondering, like, it seems like you could just add this to the KFP client that you use in your uh new
Yeah,
new
I
client.
suggest I suggested that it should be in the KFP SDK because when
Uh-huh.
we make changes to KFP backend, we want to be able to change the client as well, and
Yeah,
we want our CI testing it too.
is
So
that so my question is is that what we're doing? Because
yes,
that's
that's
what
going
I
to be in
think.
the
Okay, cool.
it's going to be in the KFP repo, and Kubeflow SDK really just re-exports them.
Yeah, because the same argument applies in KFP. What you're saying, Andre, is like we want the API to be simple and like easy to use.
So
So,
yeah,
mhm,
my expectation, again, as I said before, we should eventually delete the KFP client and keep
mhm.
only Pipeline's client as the, user interface. And I know it will take time for users to migrate, right? But I want to work with you guys to actually understand, what API is actually useful and what we should deprecate. And the pipelines client should be our final definition that everyone will use, the users who actually want to use KFP in production, right?
Mhm.
Yep.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I'm on board with that.
See,
I think that will create some maintenance burden because when we make a change in KFP, that means we have a dependency on Kubeflow SDK, right? Which may
No, oh, you mean like the long? No, I think the goal is to always keep the code in the KFP repo. It's just the idea is that we would eventually shift over to this new client that has a consistent interface across Kubeflow.
you're like
But Kubeflow
shipping it.
SDK is
The the client is like shipped as part of Kubeflow SDK. The code still resides in KFP.
so
yeah.
I guess help me understand what is wrong with the current KFP client.
I think the problem is it has a bunch of APIs users don't really need to use. So like we need to do a major refactoring of the APIs to make them consistent and they're actually usable. So some of the APIs probably we should maybe refactor them a little bit and rethink, especially on the work that Matt is doing on the MLflow integration and experiment tracking, because we want to provide a kind of consistent experience across all of the Kubeflow tools. Pipelines is one of the tool. We also have train jobs, we have Spark jobs, we have optimization jobs, right? So all of them should have a consistent way users submit the tasks, right? So today, unfortunately, KFP client, because it was designed, a couple of years ago, it already has an API. We cannot really delete it because it will break all the users' installations, right? Um, that is why I guess the idea was to create another client to be consistent with all other tools we expose.
Yeah, and I'm fine with deprecating the old client and just all new features go to the new client as well, like once we're done with the phases.
Mhm.
I don't think there's harm with leaving the old client around forever. We could just not add new features to it.
And a
Yeah.
warning.
Mhm. Yeah, I think so. I mean, it doesn't need to be. I mean, we don't need to do it right now. I mean, I think we need to can decide the feature parity and like what features we want to push to the pipelines client eventually, right? And especially once we have the deeper integration, uh, we again like with experiment, for example, right? Because I was thinking about how we can provide a way to register experiment across all those clients in a consistent way, right? When users run the pipeline, train the models, or maybe submit the Spark jobs, etc. So, yeah. So just back to my original question. So again, like the primary goal of uploading the pipeline is to push to production, right? And then multiple users can trigger it.
Yep.
Um, okay.
And
How users?
also for auditability as well, because you can go back to the pipeline definition that triggered the run.
Mhm. What about like multi-tenancy? Like how does it solve? Like for example, if you have multiple users, like do they share all the pipelines, I guess, right? In the same namespace.
You can have pipelines that are global and namespace scope, I believe,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah. And you can submit a pipeline run in a different namespace than the namespace that the pipeline definition is in. So you can upload the pipeline in one namespace, but run it in a different namespace.
Mhm. Do users really understand those concepts? Like from your,
I think the one
Mhm.
Matt just mentioned last, maybe not as much as my guess.
Mhm.
I think what it makes sense is the simple, like there's a global concept of a pipeline, and then there's like a profile concept of a pipeline. Uh,
Yeah, like a template or the actual pipeline. Like this is what Kubernetes is doing, for example, right? They do have the concept of the template, and then you can submit um you can trigger the job from the template, for example, like the
that's
post.
pipelines and runs. What you're
Yeah.
describing is more akin to pipelines and runs, the relationship. So like pipelines is the template, like you said. It's like the spec, and then the run is an instance that runs with
Hmm.
like runtime configuration parameters and so on.
Yeah, so in trainer we do solve this with the runtime. So, cluster training runtime, and we have a train job. And train job is just basically the reference of the runtime, right? Uh, did you have any kind of conversation before in a way that I know previously you've been discussing like refactoring the Qflow, the KFP CRDs, right? The introducing the pipelines, CRDs, but like where we are in this phase of this work.
Yeah, it's currently opt-in. It's only the pipeline and pipeline versions that are CRD based, and it's opt-in, backwards compatible,
Mhm.
and there's no further movement at this point for more CRD based resource.
Okay, okay. Yeah, because I was thinking about, like in the phase one, do we want to introduce the concept of the run and the pipeline to the user? Or we can think about, like refactoring to make it easier for users to understand what is actually the pipeline, what is run. Do we really need to have a concept of the run, or it should be just a pipeline and we have a single, create pipeline API, and maybe upload, it can be upload API or and create a pipeline API. And behind the scenes we can trigger the runs, for example. Um, yeah, I'm
I
trying to say how to
think,
make it easier here.
yeah, I personally the way I would do it is just continue with the way the UI shows it because that's the way it'll feel most intuitive to users. So runs are currently separate from pipelines, so I would kind of keep that separation.
Hmm.
But I do think there's value if you had like a pipeline object that you queried and you could submit a run off of that. That could be nice, but
Yeah, because I think we just do have an opportunity here to think about future, like changes. And if we think that users should only understand the pipeline as the template and the pipeline as the actual object they submit. I don't know if we want to introduce the concept of the run to the user.
No,
Uh,
I think so. Pipeline and run are just two different concepts. I think all KP users get used to these concepts. Pipeline is the template, run is the instance of the template, right? The run can have different parameters. When you do experiment, you might like use the same pipeline, but like, for example, hyperparameter tuning, right? Each run is different, but pipeline is, these are two separate concepts. I think we should continue keep this separate.
Yeah, I agree. This is also not like a unique concept to KFP. Tecton has something similar with pipelines and pipeline runs. Argo similarly can have workflow templates and workflows. So it's a pattern that we see continuously recurring. I think, yeah.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, because I would say I know Tecton has also the concept of the task runs and the tasks, right?
Yep.
And the tasks is reusable template and a task run, right? So
I don't remember the task
okay.
runs tasks that well, but they do have concepts of like templates and then instantiating the templates as runs. And for those instances, you can provide like runtime inputs so that they're like different from each other. If that makes sense.
Yep. Okay, I just trying to understand, phase one, like whether we want to introduce the upload function and run function, or you think, what we should do first from your perspective.
I think upload and runs makes sense. I think where probably need to talk about is like you grouped a lot of different functions that do different things, and whether we want to bring all of these along as part of like parameters or just not have them to simplify things. I think that's where the discussion would probably have to be. Matt, others, do you agree, disagree?
Yeah, I mean, I need to look at the actual like method usage, but I'm fine with that. Like, if it's just one run method, but it accepts as input like a pipeline function or a pipeline version ID, I think that could be pretty nice, actually.
Yeah, because I see value in being able to just point like your code that you are, because like in the same Python file, you might have like a pipeline described and you might be running the client and be like, you might just want to pass that function and run it. So like that's where create run from pipeline function might become useful, right? Or you have already uploaded your pipeline and you want to run a pipeline and you know the idea, whatever, you know the name and you want to run it that way and you have the connection configured, like I can see value in
Yeah.
that. So I don't necessarily think we should remove any of these capabilities. I think we should just make the API more intuitive and just allow like users to customize what they want to do. And we can have like reasonable defaults, or we can say like this is the common path where we expect users to, I don't know, point it at the code or at the uploaded pipeline. And then, users who want to do a little bit more can do a little bit more. We shouldn't block them.
I think that is the intent of the proposal. When it says replaces, I don't think it's actually like removing functionality. It's just consolidating methods.
Yeah. So I think that's good.
It's more about, we have an opportunity here to improve the APIs. And, if we want to, have this as a parameter of create run, for example, or we want to have this separate, we should do it right now. So, like in the future, we can extend and provide more functionals. Yeah, Niels?
Yeah, no, I agree to everything that's been discussed. One thing I want to add on top of what Matt mentioned was we should try to be consistent with the UI user experience. Digressing too much from UI would mean that users have to learn the product differently.
Do we see this as an opportunity to improve KFP UI in the future?
Yeah, I mean, I see it, but we need data to understand the usage first.
Yeah. Yeah, because again, I want us, us as the broader community to think about, like how we can make it as easy as possible to use all those tools, because we have a good foundation, right? We have a foundation to do large scale PyTorch training. We do have a foundation to do large scale data processing, like parameter optimization already been in place. Like we just have a way for now for users to stitch all these pieces together with the, complete end-to-end pipeline. And I guess like the question is like how we can ensure we don't really do duplicate efforts and provide a consistent experience across all the tools we serve, right? And if some of those changes should be, can be done, I think we can do it in the future, right? Changing UI, deprecating some UIs, reusing some, for example, MLflow UIs. I'm, all for it if we all agree.
Yep. I think, yeah, let's keep this small because you've been asking for
Yeah.
this for like a year now, Andre. So like we should make progress on it. So yeah, let's keep the proposal small, and I'll take a look. I might ask Michael to reduce it though, because 1,500 lines is probably too
You
long.
Yeah,
can
yeah, yeah.
break up
I-
the fate, like if the phases are adding a lot, just start with the first phase and briefly mention the next phases and what that work is coming. He doesn't have to undo the work. He can just like save it or even split it up into files or something so the primary focus is
yeah,
on
yeah,
like the
yeah,
first
yeah.
phase.
I agree. I think I told the same to Michael. Like, let's try to simplify the proposal as much as we can. So we only focus on phase one and minimal set of APIs we can give to users to. This is why I'm asking about upload. Like, I don't want to, like, my suggestion was not to reduce upload on the first version, just to give a way for users to trigger the run, and that's it. Like, and upload will be done automatically. Um, if you think this is useful.
No, I think upload should be separate.
Okay.
Yeah, but it should be part of phase one.
But I think what I try to say, like, you have this you have an API called create run from pipeline func, right? It doesn't require for users to upload the pipeline, correct?
From pipeline func, no, that's the
Doesn't-
one. Okay. You were about to say something, Chen. You can go.
Yeah, yeah, it doesn't upload the pipeline.
Yeah, that's
So
if you have the Python object in memory, you can submit it directly to the server. But that's like more like a development workflow, I would say.
Yeah.
yeah,
I
yeah,
think
yeah, yeah.
I think the the regular, yeah, like it's a development thing. I think we would for phase one introduce the like actual full flow. At least like the minimal like MVP would be to be able to upload and then run a run from that upload, for example.
So you think, Homer, like from a perspective, an MVP, phase one, 0.5, we should have upload and run together?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think it's going to be that much more work, to be honest.
Okay. Yeah, I'm fine with it. Like, I just, want to see like what kind of enable, because a run can accept pipeline object, right? Or can accept the reference, right, to the pipeline ID, right? Or pipeline name. I think you have it in the KFP. Okay. All right, sounds great. Thanks a lot for your feedback. Again, like I think it's a good opportunity for us to think long term, and again how we can simplify all the APIs for end users, so they really have a good consistent story around all those APIs. So let's definitely think on this more, and I will also need to take a look on the on the all the APIs in the KEP.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, thanks. So I just messaged Michael in the GitHub PR to just ask him to make it shorter, and then I'll review it. And then I just had like a quick topic as more of a PSA. I mentioned this at the Kubeflow community call, but for anyone who's interested, I proposed a KEP to make MLflow like the first class experiment tracking experience in Kubeflow. So if you're interested, I linked the PR in the doc.
I
It's only
haven't
300 something lines.
I haven't read it, but does it address the two other experiments? I'm guessing you got the KFP one, but there's also the Kingdom one.
I didn't want to be opinionated, but I think I may have to be. So if you want me to be,
Yes.
leave comments.
I think
We
if I'm a user and I see 3 different places it says experiments on like the left nav, I'm going to be so confused. So I don't know. It feels like a very like a good time to maybe at least
Yeah.
mention it. I don't know.
Yeah, my suggestions again, I also like left few comments like I think we should remove the concept of experiments from UI. So we should really, be focused on high level experiment idea, not a KFP focus.
Yeah. Yeah. So we can talk about it in the next Kubeflow community call if you're interested. We just need to decide like what level of integration we will have with MLflow, if it's like a required component or if it's just like an optional enhancement.
Does Kubeflow have required components? Is there even a notion of that?
What do you mean by required components?
Well, like if we deprecate experiment or removed experiments UIs, then MLflow effectively becomes a hard dependency on any other Kubeflow component. So that's why I was hesitant to make such a.
So experiments concept is only exists in KFP. So KDIP has experiment CR, but it's different. We're going to refactor it to a new CR, like optimization job CR. So
Oh,
it's only
nice.
KFP dependency, right?
Yeah, I think that KFP experiments should be like rebranded to be
Yeah,
like the
it
grouping
should.
concept
Mhm.
can remain. It's just the branding of it as experiments is where I
Okay.
would
Yeah, we
push
can
back.
rebrand it to run groups
And then
or
KFP can have integration with that. Basically, like this is kind of similar to what we're doing in our downstream. And I think it makes a lot of sense. Like I want as a user to be able to still group my runs, but I also want to use as a user for my runs to be able to write to external experiment tracking stores or metadata tracking stores. So I think by relabeling it from experiments to something else, we keep that grouping and that like logical uh, hierarchy, and we can also have the UI and UX be kind of somewhat like intuitive.
yep. So if you're interested, Kubeflow community call next week or leave comments in the PR. Thank you.
So exciting.
Yeah, great work, Matt. Like I think we've been voting. Community Water had here like 6 years ago, so it's really
Yes.
great work overall. So thanks guys.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Take care.
Bye.